Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on, guys? Good morning. We're back from our trip. We are back in the studio, guys, making that content. How is everybody? Isaac, shooting that super chat in there, dropping that cheddar. I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you for the support. Lick a tongue in the house. What's up? Hope all is well. All is really, really well, my friend. Thank you so much. Let's get this background changed up a little bit here, shall we? Let's get this background changed up. We're sitting at the lake right now. We need to get to business. Partner. All right, there we go. We're in business mode now. What's going on, guys? Another super chat coming in from Brandon. Thanks for the information on the privacy. Hey, I got the fries that'll cross your eyes, brother. No problem at all. Guys, thank you for the support. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up. YouTube is acting weird right now, just so you know. It shows me on my end that I'm not live, but I know that I am live, so it's weird. But anyway. Anywho, looking at that Bitcoin chart, we had a nice little bounce last night between this little liquidity zone right here. We'll get into the chat momentarily, guys. Little coffee cough. Okay, let's go. So we closed right on our support/resistance line here at 89,200, and we've bounced all the way up to resistance at 90,400 last night. We've since come back down, obviously back down to 89.5. So next goal, we've got to break through this $90,400 resistance level. As you can see, we've rejected off at 1, 2, 3, and then we crashed back down, held support down around 86.7. Boom, and we've made another run at it here. But that's a good thing, guys. The more we chip away at this sell wall, the more likely it is we will break through. Let's move that for now. So that's what we're waiting for, guys. A clean breakthrough 90,400. Looks like we're probably going to get it. We've had a pretty strong recovery after that little sharp dump there. So not too bad, guys. Not too bad. Let's get into the chat. Let's see what's going on. Crypto J505, second Pokemon of the day. We got Gengar in the house. What's up, fam? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Justin, maybe this is a way to get most investors out while big ones come in the past. Most people leave the market. Usually big money comes in. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I do have a theory about that when it comes to the miners. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later and how that price suppression might be trying to force miners to sell at these lows so that these institutions can accumulate. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, so you're not going to want to miss it. No likes, no bull run. Absolutely, Ohowski, my guy. H. Barbarina in the house. Jose says, abandon ship. I don't know if that's good for your bags. Carl, what's up, man? Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Brandon says, good morning, Rob. I haven't been on in a while, but I'm iced in this week. My part of Tennessee got hit hard. My Toyota plant has been closed all week. Well, that sucks, man. Are you making dry powder in the meantime is the question, or are you just not getting paid while it's shut down, man? Let me know, brother. I hope you are still getting paid to sit at home. That would be actually really cool, man. Little staycation, right? Strawberry Dragon, good morning, Dave. What's up, man? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, guys. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free to do. Helps the channel grow. Costs you absolutely nothing. It's kind of weird if you're here watching and you don't. Cam, what's up, buddy? Good morning, Rob and Crypto Fam. Crypto Alpha Miller Mountain in the house. What's up, brother? It's me, Mario. Good morning, Senor Rob. Rob and future family. Oh, faux show. YouTubers be tripping. Let's go. Volks, what's happening, buddy? Carl says that sailors buying while retail's running away from the markets. Exactly. I put my pennies where they put their dollars. Isaac says, I'm very bullish on Plume and Midnight moving forward. Thoughts? I agree 100%, brother. I agree 100%. I am extremely bullish on both. Actually, you probably saw it, but I made a video explaining a little deeper into my insights on Midnight last night. And you know what? Maybe I'll do Plume today. Maybe I will do an updated video for you guys over on the Patreon on Plume this afternoon. That sounds like a good idea to me, brother. Volk says income tax returns coming Little sprinkle, sprinkle powder. Twinkle, twinkle, baby. Twinkle, twinkle. Absolutely. Derek, what's up, buddy? Do you think Kava will do well in the future? I'm staking it at $9, 9.46 APY on it now. Do you think this project has potential? I think I looked at that for a while. I think I looked at that a while ago for you, didn't I? Let me pull it up and have a look. Kava, yeah, I think I looked at that for you last week. I'm almost certain I did. I think Kava will do well, but it's kind of, for me, it's been around a long time, I think, right? So, yeah, this has been through multiple cycles. So, I mean, yes, I think it will do well, but I also think there's better projects. But if you're already holding it, it's $84 million market cap, decent tokenomics. I think you'll be okay. It has stood the test of time. So, Ashley, I'm Miller Mountain's wife. Subscribed, liked. I am a full Rob supporter. Thank you, and Miller. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your whole family. God bless your whole family. Hopefully everything works out roses for you guys. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Hello, my favorite man. Good day. Hab, what's going on, man? Thanks, brother. Hey, no problem, man. You know I got your back. Okay, let's get into the news a little bit, guys. Let's see what's going on out there in the space. When do you think gold and silver will top? Good question. We're actually going to get into some silver shortly here. It's part of the news cycle I have in this stream, so stick around and we'll talk about it, okay? All right. So we went over the Bitcoin chart. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the our numbers here, shall we? Let's have a look at our numbers. Fear and greed, 37, creeping closer and closer to extreme. Well, not really close to extreme fear, but it'll get there. Come on. We need extreme fear so we can buy some more, guys. 30 out of 100 on the altcoin season index. 49.06 on the average crypto RSI. So we are not really moving to overbought or oversold at this point in time, which is, neither bullish nor bearish. Just kind of neutral, guys. But the altcoins are green today, so you'll love to see that. Okay, let's get over to some of the news. A couple topics you guys have already asked. I think the hiccups asked about. What do we have? We got some more. Miller Brown says, "Hello, my love. Who just gifted me a perfect baby boy. Nice, Ashley. And by the way, he's talking about me when he says my love. Okay, just so we're clear on that. Also, congratulations, you guys, on your beautiful baby boy. He's going to be running and kicking you in the sack and stuff and running away before you know it, brother. It's going to be a good time. Congratulations, man. Baby's name is Bear. There you go. I dig it. Make it Bull. Change his name to Bull. Come on." Do you think Kava will hit its all-time high again? If I had to, I don't know what they have going for them as a project, so I can't really be 100% certain. But being as old as it is, I'm going to go with no. But, I also don't know any of what's going on. Are they, do they have new partnerships going on? Do they have new collaborations, new developments, new products? I don't know any of that stuff, so I can't be 100%, right? What's up, chicken busses? E. Perez in the house. I just said, of course he is. You're a popular name in this household. I dig it. So what are we having for dinner? That's the question. I like pasta, okay? All right, let's get into it. U.S. dollar slides to lowest levels in 4 years as policy and Fed risks mount. The U.S. dollar traded near its weakest level in almost, where was I? I lost my spot. In almost 4 years, as of writing, extending losses for a fourth straight session. The Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index fell as much as 0.7% to its lowest level since March of 2022, placing the greenback on track for its worst stretch since President Trump announced universal tariffs last April. Cryptocurrency markets reacted swiftly, with investors reassessing the dollar's role amid rising political and policy risks. The dollar's slide reflects growing caution around Washington's policy direction. Market participants pointed to unpredictable decision-making, and that is an understatement to say the least, including renewed geopolitical rhetoric and concerns about U.S. trades and security commitments over a longer horizon, fears around Federal Reserve independence, and I don't think that's really a fear, right? It's more of a fear of the Fed's independence. I don't think that's really a macro concern right now. I don't know. I think it's just a talking point personally. It's a buzzword to use, right? An expanding budget deficit and fiscal credibility have steadily eroded confidence in the currency. Strategists highlighted that structural pressures now dominate the narrative. Analysts at Brown Brothers Harriman, that's a hairy man, noted that fading trust in the U.S. governance and politicization of monetary policy could outweigh long-term economic resilience. As these risks accumulate, investors trimmed dollar positions despite stable domestic data. I believe there's also some fears about Japan selling some of their bonds as well. As the dollar weakens, major currencies strengthen sharply. The euro climbed to around 1.1972, the strongest level since 2021, while the British pound rose to near $1.37.91, also a multi-year high. The Japanese yen advanced about 0.7% to roughly 153.03 per dollar, supported by signals of potential intervention from Japanese authorities. That's actually something we talked about. I think Mirdad asked me about that last night in the Patreon live stream as well. If there was concern about the U.S. dollar due to Japan potentially selling off U.S. bonds, right? Currency markets reacted strongly to signs of official scrutiny over yen movements. Reports indicate that the Federal Reserve's Bank of New York contacted financial institutions to review the dollar-yen exchange rate, a step often associated with intervention preparation. Japanese officials later confirmed close coordination with U.S. authorities. Are we about to see the U.S. intervene to make sure that the strength of the U.S. dollar doesn't fall too far? Will the Fed intervene in Japan? Most likely, I'm going to say yes, probably. Knowing Trump, that is right down his alley, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, right? All right, we got more in the chat to get to. Brandon says that would be a negative, Derek. Only 4 projects have ever reached their all-time highs for this cycle. Yeah, welcome back. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Donald Trump wants a weaker dollar. Yeah, here's the thing about the weaker dollar concept, okay? Here's the thing. The U.S. dollar is a balancing act, right? You can't just have the U.S. dollar running rampant and getting way too strong, because it makes trade with other countries almost impossible, right? So you have to have a balance in how strong the U.S. dollar is and or how weak it is at any given time. That is part of the Fed's responsibility and the administration's responsibility, is to make sure that the U.S. dollar doesn't get too weak, but also it cannot get too strong. Again, it makes trade with other countries impossible, right? So it's a balancing act at the end of the day. Danny, what it do, baby boo? Good to see you, man. Hey, Rob, 50 push-ups. Sorry for being late. Blessings. I smashed the like. My guy. There you go. That's what I like to hear. Blessings, my friend. David with a Y in the house. Axe, what's up, man? Any remaining correlation between the M2 and Bitcoin? They will be recorrelated, but usually when Bitcoin tops, they decorrelate for a while, and then they recouple later on. So probably, I would say maybe sometime later this year or next year, I could see it coming close to a recouple. Do you think Proppy will do well this year? I've been eyeing this. As far as this year, I wouldn't peg it to this year, but I would peg it to Proppy will do well in this cycle. The tokenization of mortgages is going to be a big thing moving forward. We're seeing the birth here, guys. In real time, we're seeing the adoption of the tokenization of RWAs, and Proppy is right there, smack dab in the middle of that. So yes, Proppy will do well in my opinion. Knight and Stronghold are now on uphold. Looks bullish to me. Love it, man. Absolutely love it. Yes, like I said, I did break down Knight yesterday in a video for our Patreon members. Some of the reasons I believe Knight is going to do very, very well. Make sure you get over there and check that out, guys. I will be dropping another one today. For Isaac, I'm going to do it on Plume. We're going to drop one on Plume over there. And yeah, also Ghostware. Guys, remember that? We made a call on that about a month ago. It's up over 450% since we called Ghost, right? Another reason you want to be a part of our Patreon community, guys. The link's in the chat. It's in the big comments. You could have been up over 450% on it. I was seeing a lot of people in the chat over on the Patreon the last few days talking about how up they are on Ghost since we called it. So, bam, you're welcome, baby. You'll love it. You'll love to see it. Let's keep rolling along here. AVAIL Labs General Counsel says the SEC will win a jurisdictional battle taking place in D.C. What the hell are they talking about? As lawmakers debate how to divide regulatory authority over digital assets, the quieter battle is unfolding between the agencies that already oversee U.S. markets. The question is not which framework Congress will eventually pass, but which regulator has the ability to act first and set expectations in the meantime. During a recent interview on The Street Roundtable with AVAIL Labs General Counsel Lee Schneider, the conversation shifted to the simple but important issue between the SEC and the CFTC, which regulator is more likely to shape crypto markets first. The first advantage, he said, comes down to size and resources. So here's the thing, guys. I'm going to sum this up for you, okay? The SEC has a far bigger budget than the CFTC. The SEC, obviously, based on budget, has far more staff, right? And the CFTC is incredibly tiny in comparison. However, I would put this out there. They're saying, well, we want to give all the authority to oversee crypto to the SEC. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to tell you why it doesn't make any sense. Because we are talking about most cryptos being what? Commodities, not securities, right? So the CFTC oversees what? Commodities. The SEC oversees securities. It doesn't make sense if your true intention is to give guardrails in place to make crypto commodities, to give authority over said commodities to an agency that oversees securities when you have an agency that oversees commodities. It doesn't make sense. The people who don't like crypto, that want to give full jurisdictional power to the SEC, is because they want another Gary Gensler situation. They want to give legal authority to the SEC because when Gary was running rampant suing everybody, he didn't actually have legal authority to do it. It was a kind of a gray area. There was nothing saying he could, but there was nothing saying he couldn't, right? So what I would say is if they put legal frameworks in place that the SEC has authority, well then what are you going to see? I mean, maybe not in the rest of Trump's administration, but you could see if let's say the Democrats win the election, the next presidential election, and Trump is gone because he's served 2 terms. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to put another Gary Gensler in the SEC who now has legal framework in place to attack crypto, right? I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen for sure. This is just my theory on it. So I just think it doesn't make sense. It seems shady to want to grant authority to commodities to an agency who oversees securities. That doesn't seem like it's being very honest to me, right? Let's get back to the chat. Do we have anything here? Philip, what's up, buddy? I still exist and watch all videos in both here and the Patreon. Hope family is good, bud. Yes, been super busy earning the cheese. There you go, man. I love to see it, brother. I love that you're still here. Thank you for being here, man. I'm glad you're still earning that cheddar. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Would you let Kava go when BTC hits 100K? Depends if you're in the red or in the green. McNerney, my dude. Good morning, brother. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. All right, so let's keep rolling along here. So this was I have another theory here. We're going through all my theories this morning. Another theory here on the pressure, the price suppression that's been happening in the markets. Is it happening? Because here's the thing. We're rapidly running out of Bitcoin on the OTC desks. And we know that is where big institutions and treasury companies, they all buy, Michael Saylor, Tom Lee, like BlackRock, they all buy their Bitcoin OTC, right? Now, OTC, if you don't know what it is it's basically a place for primarily miners or large whales to sell large amounts of Bitcoin and stuff like that below spot value, so that it gets purchased fast, because they need to be liquid, they need to get rid of it fast, so they sell it slightly below spot value on the OTC desks, and that is why it gets purchased over there. One of the reasons why is because they can buy it below spot value. Your BlackRocks, your Michael Saylors, your so on and so forth. However, because they're buying it below spot value, it does not affect the price, the value of Bitcoin, right? Because they're buying it below spot value. So that's another reason why they do it, is so that if they're buying, like, if you're ever wondering, like, you see a post, hey, Michael Saylor bought $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. Why didn't the price go up? Because he bought it OTC, which means he bought it below spot value, right? They do that so that it doesn't influence the price of Bitcoin, right? They want to keep the price low so they can keep buying it. So the question is, are they suppressing the price of Bitcoin to force miners into a situation where they have to sell at lower prices, OTC, so that they can scoop it up? I mean, it's entirely possible, right? But let's keep rolling here, guys. Let's keep rolling. Bitcoin mining energy consumption data from the Cambridge Bitcoin Energy Consumption Index indicates that miners who pay 10 cents per kWh for energy will be at a loss for every Bitcoin mined. The data shows that some have already faced this price as far back as October of 2025. So what happens is the miners need Bitcoin's price to be at a certain value to stay in profit, right? If Bitcoin's price, if it costs a miner more money to produce or mine one Bitcoin than the value of the Bitcoin, right? So if right now it is $89,000 per Bitcoin, but if it costs the miner more than $89,000 to mine that Bitcoin, well, then they're operating at a loss, obviously, right? That's what that means. So with the energy rise, costs, and declining Bitcoin price, Bitcoin's mining is now unprofitable and perhaps unsustainable for miners across the United States. Present market conditions do not suggest any upswing for Bitcoin anytime soon. After losing momentum and plummeting from an all-time peak of $126,000 over 3 months ago, it has struggled and has been unable to stage a comeback. Miners in the U.S. are feeling the heat with no relief in sight. However, it's not just the U.S. Chinese miners are also struggling with energy costs, paying 11 cents per kWh to mine Bitcoin, a rate that also puts many of them at a loss. So miners are operating at a slight loss right now, guys. One has to wonder, with the demand in energy that's going to continue to increase due to the production of AI, is this also going to make energy more expensive for the miners to mine Bitcoin? And will this affect Bitcoin in a positive or negative way? It's going to be very, very interesting to see how that correlation plays out, right? Pass Clarity Act, I wish, but looks like they probably won't until next year. At this rate, anyways. Let's segue over to Squawk Box, as we always do about this time. Speaking of AI, the AI KPAX story remains front and center, says Goldman Sachs. Let's go.
Markets right now, we want to bring in Luke Bars. He is Chief Business and Client Officer for Fundamental Equities at Goldman Sachs Asset Management. And Luke, welcome. It's great to see you this morning.
Great to see you.
Got a lot hanging over us. I guess the Fed decision is front and center.
Yep.
Not that we anticipate too much coming out of them. So will you be watching that closely? Does it matter all that much at this point?
Watching closely, clearly, but think it will be fairly benign. What we've seen is fairly robust data. We still think the Fed is going to move through the course of this year, but it's probably not today. And I think for equity markets, there's a little bit of embedded valuation that ties to continued monetary stimulus. But at the moment, it's still all about earnings. It's about fundamentals. Where are you seeing that return on investment? And that's what's underpinning what is still a fairly healthy equity outlook.
The dollar was the big story yesterday and has been, in fact, for the last year or so. Just watching how it has dropped in value, down about 10% over the last year. The comments from the president really putting a focus on this because it sounded like he is not displeased by this move. How does that impact equities? How does it impact what you might be watching for or investing in?
So I think there's an idiosyncratic company level consideration, which is what does the book of business look like for that company? How does the dollar impact revenue and earnings outlook for the year? But generally, outlook is fairly benign and neutral for the dollar. Yes, a little bit of weakness over the last couple of years, but we think that that's going to be muted through the course of this year. And so again, it comes back to the fundamentals. What I would say is you move that from a company level valuation assessment and an earnings outlook to an asset allocation decision, you are seeing a natural rebalancing of client portfolios as they look to diversify out of what have been a very, very strong backdrop for US equities. And that's not a bearish view on US equities. We're still very bullish on that, especially as you go down the cap spectrum. But it is just the natural reality of being overweight US equities, that market doing very well. And so for international investors, and especially for US investors thinking about the forward, a slightly weaker dollar also plays into that international developed and emerging market story.
We do get a lot of the big tech companies starting to report today, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla, all of them coming out. But you say it's really broadening. That is the big deal for the markets right now. So are you going to be watching those tech stocks pretty closely, or are you looking at other ways that you can maybe diversify a bit?
You have to watch it. It is the driver of the day-to-day, and that AI CapEx story is still front and center. We've seen roughly 75% increase in AI CapEx over the last 2 years. We still think that's going to move by another 40 or 50% this year. So you're talking about, somewhere between 500, maybe even $550 billion of AI CapEx through 2026. You can't ignore that. What we think will happen, and is happening in the last few quarters, is the separation and outcome. The market focusing on execution, focusing on returns, and saying, okay, we're going to see this AI CapEx, but where's the return on investment that's coming from that? And at the idiosyncratic company level, you're already seeing a little bit of that change where companies are being rewarded for execution and success, and companies being penalized where it isn't as clear what that path forward looks like.
How much faith do you have? I mean, you talk about how you expect this continued spend on the AI build out. I mean, we have Wendell Weeks joining us later today from Corning. There was that big announcement of the $6 billion or up to $6 billion partnership with Meta that was announced yesterday. I mean, there's still a lot of money that's being poured into this.
For sure.
How convinced are you that this is something that's going to be lasting for next several years?
So we see the technology as transformation. We see that as delivering significant productivity gains and returns for businesses across the full spectrum. The challenge is now, who are the winners and losers? And that's where you're going to see the separation. I think if we take a step back and think about the AI CapEx trend and take the broadening statement that we've made across equity markets, the hardware type businesses, very important. There's still real money earnings that are being generated. The hyperscalers have to show the return on investment that's coming from that. But actually, as you go down into other parts of the broader AI trend, interestingly, you've gone from the power generation story being the bottleneck discussion and where can you find opportunity and value to being the square footage discussion. How can you build the data centers? Where's the land that you can acquire to do that? And so I think there are challenges.
As the limiting factor, you mean?
100%. Yeah. There's limiting constraints and bottlenecks that could exist. But if you can find the businesses that are playing into that theme, benefiting from that capital investment, again, on the premise of broadening of opportunity set and going outside of just those headline names, we still think there's a lot of opportunity.
Okay. What's your favorite play at the moment? Favorite sector, favorite area?
Yeah. So for us, I think as we look at it, trying to find parts of the broader power generation utility space is very interesting, just because it doesn't come with the multiple. Yes, these are regulated utilities, especially if you go into the international space. Think about what's happening in Europe around the infrastructure investment. You're seeing $500–600 billion of committed investment into power grid infrastructure, which, that's not a scenario you've seen at any point in history. And so that isn't the 25, 30 times multiple that you're having to pay in parts of the big tech space, which still looks interesting and compelling, but actually there's some interesting opportunities as you go outside of that immediate ecosystem.
Things you need to be paying attention to, guys. Things you need to be paying attention to. Somebody asked about silver and gold. We're going to cover that now. But what do we have in the chat? Trump should give the miners some governmental subsidies. Absolutely. That would be awesome. You know, for American miners, yeah, that would be a great idea. Why not? They give subsidies to everybody else, right? Do you have a guess on the long-term growth potential of Solana? Solana is going to be huge. I don't think Solana is anywhere near peak, to be honest with you. I mean, their ETF, their spot ETF has been doing phenomenally. Projects are continuing to build on Solana as well. I don't think Solana is going anywhere, man. It's, you know, I'm bullish on it. King of the Hill, yes, exactly. I'm bullish on it long term, man. 100% on that. Paul, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. I was wondering where you were at. Good to see you, brother. Okay, let's get into this here. The silver ETF volume surpasses NVIDIA amid major rallies. Unbelievable, eh? On January 27th, silver trading reached nearly $40 billion in volume, comparable to major ETFs, driven by speculative activity, according to BlockBeat's news. The surge highlights increased speculative interest, but poses a risk of dramatic price corrections due to the lack of liquidity in the market environment. The strong rally in silver propelled the iShares Silver Trust sharing volume to significant levels comparable to the S&P 500 ETFs. Silver's price has more than doubled since 2025, marking its largest gain since 1979. Gold and mining stocks also appeared in tandem, although analysts point to speculative activity as primary drivers. I think it's more that they're scared about the dollar and stuff. With liquidity concerns, many market watchers fear the potential of a rapid pullback. Given the speculative nature of recent trading, silver's notable performance this month include a 60% increase, showcases possible volatility in the markets. Let's go have a look over at silver. I want to have a look at the silver chart. Let's have a looky-loo. When is silver going to correct? Oh, what do we have here? Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, so we are looking at Bitcoin. Let's go over to silver. Look at that. Look at that, guys. Holy smokes. But we can do better. Silver, okay, that's where we are. Where's my normal chart? Where's my normal chart? Damn you, Trading View. There's my normal chart. There we go. Look at that. I thought we were going to reject off $100, guys, and come back down, but we absolutely did not do that at all. The breakout happened like we called, but holy smokes, I thought a rejection off 100. We're at $114 right now. We got as high as almost $118, just a hair below 100. Oh, maybe we reached 118. But yes, guys, yes. My answer is yes. Silver and gold, they will see a correction at some point here, man. I mean, honestly, look at the RSI. Look at the RSI. Oof. 80.99, guys. It is on fire for silver. Yes, I do think you're going to see a correction in silver soon. Same with gold, very, very soon. My entry point on silver, down here, obviously in this little golden pocket, 50 to 55 bucks. That's where I would be buying silver. I wouldn't be buying it at these prices, not financial advice, but that's my strategy, right? So yeah, silver is crushing it this year. But again, guys, another thing we talked about in the Patreon live yesterday, listen, liquidity, it's just because it's a bear market some places doesn't mean it's a bear market everywhere, right? And what that means is liquidity always is like water, flows somewhere. Right now and over the last year and a half, it's been sitting in the S&P 500, it's been sitting in gold, it's been sitting in silver. Eventually, these markets are going to correct, and where is that liquidity going to flow to, right? Well, if we can generate an appetite for risk on assets We can look at the Russell 2000. We can look at the altcoin market, Bitcoin, and we can see that liquidity flow into there if we can see some catalysts that increase an appetite for risk on assets. So that's what we'll be watching for, to see if that liquidity, or when that liquidity flows into your favorite altcoins. So absolutely bullish, guys. Absolutely bullish. All right, we got one more clip over on Squawk Box. Let's get into that. Former Kansas City Fed, the inflation target cannot be ignored by the Fed.
And former Kansas City Fed President Esther George, thank you for being with us today, Esther. I know you had already said that you would not have voted for the 25 basis points cut in December. How are you feeling about things now? I'm guessing that stance still stands.
Yeah, it does still stand for me, Becky. But I think when you look at the landscape that we're facing right now, we are going on now 5 years of inflation running well above the Fed's target. And I think today, the committee has signaled it's time to pause. They've done 3 rate cuts. They have talked a lot about their concern about the labor market and what they're trying to do to support that aspect of the mandate. But the truth is that the inflation target cannot be ignored, and it is going to be connected as we look at the year ahead to what happens to a number of movements in the economy that I think are going to be telling about the inflation landscape.
Yesterday, we got consumer confidence numbers that plunged to the lowest level we've seen in 12 years. It was because not only this consumer angst about higher prices, but also consumers worried about the job market, too. That plays to the 2 mandates that the Federal Reserve has. Which one plays a more important role if the job market wobbles a bit?
Yeah, so in a mandate that requires you to look at both aspects of this, I'll be looking today to hear how the Fed is judging the risk. Is it more two-sided risk here that allows them to pause and wait and see what happens? Because I think we are getting very clear signals out of these sentiment surveys, both on the business side and on consumer side. High prices are a problem. People don't like high prices. But when you combine that with the fact that you don't see a lot of hiring going on, it does cause people to have sour sentiment, even in the face of an economy you might otherwise say looks like it's moving ahead in a pretty solid fashion.
You know, inflation is a beast, and you mentioned it's been 5 years. The inflation rate has come down significantly, but prices don't come down just because inflation comes down. Affordability is the key word that keeps playing its way across the country and is being picked up by both political parties at this point. The president has made the point that he would like to bring down rates to help consumers out, whether that be on getting a cheaper car loan, getting a better mortgage price, having lower interest rates. He's talked about this cap on credit cards. There's a lot of angst that comes with that, with people who don't want to see the government more involved with these things. There's angst on the idea that those very moves could cause inflation to rise even higher. But if you're trying to fix prices and affordability, what's your argument about moving rates to try and bring down mortgage rates?
Yeah. Well, I would say all good intentions, Becky, but there is a high cost of good intentions as well. And that high cost would come in the form of creating more demand at a time when inflation is already high. And so it becomes, over time, really a tax against the purchasing power of the very consumer that you are trying to help. The best remedy, in my view, is over the long run, you want to calibrate interest rate policy. You want to bring into balance supply and demand. And once that can be achieved, then the economy has the ability to grow. People don't have to worry about the prices of things, as we saw over the last 20 years plus. That was not really a factor. Today, it's become a big factor in how people view their purchasing power, their ability to be able to sustain their standard of living. And so I think the best long-run path here is not to intervene as much as it is to allow those dynamics to play out. And of course, the Fed has been given a specific charge by Congress on how it should look at those factors in terms of the job that it plays relative to setting interest rates.
I wish I could get paid to go on national television and say people don't like high prices. Like, no kidding, woman. No kidding. I need the liquidity to flow into crypto. Yes, we all do, brother. We all do. They need metal for electrical, and these always, and these days everything is cars, computers, TVs, phones, and watch copper be the next big mover. I agree. I agree with that. Very valid. Yes, copper will be big as well. Absolutely. Robotics as well. They need it for that. Solar panels, everything. So yeah. Okay, so Bitcoin looking to make another strong move. Can we get above 90,400? That's the level we will be watching for, whether it's today or tomorrow. We'll find out, guys. But for now, I will be back later today for our live stream. I'm going to head off to the gym. Guys, make sure you get over to the Patreon community. You can book your one-on-one coaching calls. Join our group coaching calls. If you're shy, you don't want to ask questions, but you do want answers, you can get all the guidance and help that you need over there, guys. Dropping microcap gems over there again like they are Tic Tacs. We crushed it on Ghost. 450% move on that call. Make sure you get over to the community, guys. The link is in the chat. It's in the description. It's down below. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. I'll see you in the next one, guys. God bless.